Hi, this is Anna. I am on the training team here at BigRoad, and today I'm just recording a full tour of the BigRoad mobile app. So I will make sure that I include some contact info for our support team here at the end of this video, but I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. So the very first thing you want to do, if you haven't already, is go and download the BigRoad mobile app, which you can do by either opening up the Android App Store, the Google Play Store, or the Apple App Store. Just search for BigRoad, and BigRoad is going to be the first thing that comes up in the list there, and you're just going to select either Get or Install. And then once it's been installed on your device, it's going to create a little launch icon there on the home screen of your device. So to open up the BigRoad app, you're just going to click on that, and it's going to ask you to sign in or sign up for free. Now, your carrier should have already set you up as part of their fleet. So if you belong to a carrier that has a fleet subscription with BigRoad, there's no need to click sign up for free because that will just start a free trial. You can go ahead and sign in. When they set you up on their end in the admin console, you would have been invited to join their fleet, and you probably would have gotten an email from BigRoad telling you, welcome to BigRoad. Here's your login credentials to go ahead and sign in. So we're just going to click sign in here, and we're going to give an email address and a password. Now, I'm a member of a couple different test environments here with our employees, which is why I have the option to pick a fleet. Most likely you won't be seeing this screen. You should just be a member of your carrier's fleet. What you will see, however, is this pick a truck screen when you sign in. The app is just prompting you to select the truck that you're using on your shift today. So as I scroll down, these are just all of the different trucks in my fleet. So if I need to, I can search for a truck just by entering the truck number up here in the search bar. The last truck that I use is always going to show up at the top of the list. And then this D symbol over here just indicates that this is a DashLink equipped truck. So if you click a truck that has this D symbol, it's going to expect there to be a DashLink there. So what's going to happen is that after you've installed the device and established that initial connection by pairing the device with the DashLink, when you select the truck that you're looking for that has the DashLink symbol, it's going to put out a Bluetooth signal and start searching for a nearby DashLink device in the truck. At this point, I do recommend that you have the engine on for the truck because that is going to power up the DashLink device, and the DashLink is going to put out its own Bluetooth signal, and then your mobile device and your DashLink are going to start talking to each other, and they should connect pretty much instantaneously. So I'm going to select training truck for my demo. And you can see here my DashLink symbol is solid white now. That means that my DashLink is connected and we're good to go. If for any reason your DashLink isn't connected, you'd have a big orange banner across the top of your home page here saying connect DashLink before driving. Now, I do want to go ahead and talk about what we're looking at here on the home page. Up top, we've got our driver name, so that's just my name. We've got the truck that we selected when we signed in up here. And then underneath that information, we've got the name of our carrier. We've got a traffic map down here at the bottom half of the page. This little bar across the middle of the page is an in-app launcher. iOS users won't see this. This is only Android. We've got a message button here. This is just going to take you into the messaging feature of our app, which we'll cover in just a little bit. And then the daily logs button is just the way to get into your logbook. But the first thing that you're probably going to want to do is set up your profile in BigRoad. So to do that, we're just going to click on these three little dots. If you're using iOS, these are going to look like three little lines. And we're going to click Settings. And we're going to go to My Profile. So we've got our name up here, our email address. We can change our password if we need to. You just need to make sure you know your old one. You can provide a phone number for us if you want. It's not mandatory. And here's our cycle. So this is where we're going to set up our hours of service rules that we operate under. So I'm going to click on rules here. And then if I click on this drop-down menu, you can see we've got all the major cycles here. I leave myself on a 70-hour, 8-day, pretty standard cycle. We've got property and passenger carrying device or vehicles. And then we have exceptions as well. We've got most of the major ones. There are a few that we're still working on getting, but we do have the majority of the major exceptions. So I'm just going to hit done to save my changes there. And now whatever I set up for my cycle here is how the app is going to count my shift and cycle availability and stuff like that. So because I set up a 70-hour, 8-day, it's going to base itself on the FMCSA rules. So I'm going to get 14-hour shift, I'm going to get 11 hours of drive time, that kind of thing, 34-hour reset. And then we have home time zone here. If I click change, you can see that this is just going to default to whatever is set up for the fleet. If you need to, for any reason, if your home time zone doesn't match that of your carrier, you can change it here. And we'll hit done. And then the last piece in the profile is your signature. If you haven't created it yet, it's going to say, create signature here. And you would just click on that box. And then you can just trace your signature in like with your finger or like a stylus. We'll hit save. And you can go back in at any time and change it up just by hitting change signature. We'll click done. Our profile is set up. We're good to go. Now I'll kind of take you through like a typical day for a BigRoad user. So this big circle button is kind of what I usually consider the most important piece of the home page of the app. This is what we refer to as the duty status wheel. This is where all of our duty status changes are going to register. So right now I'm off duty. It looks like I'm in the middle of a cycle reset, but I'm going to go ahead and go on duty and give a demo here. So if I click on that circle, you can see I've got the main 4 statuses from the graph: off duty, sleeper, driving, and on duty. My driving and on duty time has a brief recap here as far as what I have left for the day. You can see here that driving is locked down. When I have the dash link connected, I can't manually select driving because the dash link has to automatically record that for me. If I try to click it, it's going to say, nope, that's got to be recorded by dash link. Going back to our menu here, we've got personal use, which is a setting that has to be enabled on the admin side of things, backed by your fleet manager in the back office. So they may or may not enable this for drivers. Personal use is just off-duty driving or personal conveyance. So, for example, if you were like an owner-operator and you drove your truck home at the end of your shift, you might make use of personal use. Same with yard move. That also has to be enabled by the fleet administrator for drivers to be able to access it. Yard move is just a feature that lets drivers drive up to 5 miles at a time without putting them on the drive line. And I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in just a bit, but that's what that feature is. It does have to be enabled by the fleet administrator, and you do have to be connected to DashLink via Bluetooth to see that option. And lastly, we've got duty status with a note. This just lets you change your duty status and make a note on your log at the same time. I see a lot of drivers use this for fuel stops. They might put, fuel stop, 20 gallons, that kind of thing. I see a lot of people use it for their pre-trip and when they're going on break. It's not mandatory. It's just in case you want to add a note to one of your events. So let's go ahead and use that to go on duty. And I'm going to make a note that I'm doing my pre-trip as well. So I'm going to click duty status with a note. And what we've got here is what we refer to as an event. You can just think of an event as a change of duty status. So in BigRoad, for every day in your logbook, you're going to have your graph, some basic truck and shipment information, and then the rest of your log is going to be made up of event after event. So every time you change your duty status during the day, it's going to create a new event on your log, and it's going to have this information on that event. So right now, I'm just going on duty. My start time is 4:13 p.m. I'm going to change my status from off duty to on duty. I've got my internet and my GPS turned on my mobile device, so it's pulled my location for me. If you need to override it for any reason, you can. Just drop the cursor down and type. And then I'm going to make a note here that says pre-trip. And we'll save that up. So now you can see that I'm on duty. It's got my 14 hours, counting me down. So as I use up my 14 hours during the day, it's just going to keep track of that and count me down. This green border is going to recede as my day goes by. And then BigRoad is going to let you know also when you're running low on time. So once you get below 30 minutes, this border is going to turn red, this text is going to turn red. You're going to get a little notification across the top of your mobile device saying you're running low on time. Essentially, you'll get 29 minutes of warning that you're running low on time, in addition to the app just counting you down all day. So what I'm going to do now is go and fill out my pre-trip inspection for the day. To do that, I'm going to select Daily Logs, and I'm going to go to View Logs, and I'm going to select today's date. I'm going to scroll down here to the bottom of my log, and where it says Vehicle Inspection Report, I'm going to select New Inspection. And so it's got these fields filled out for me here, carrier and inspector. And then it's going to list the truck that I signed in with up here at the top of my list, just by default. If you need to add a trailer to your inspection report, you can do so by clicking Other Trailer. And then if you need to inspect other trucks throughout the day, you can select Other Truck. But I'm going to go ahead and just select Training Truck. And then it's already got most of my fields filled out for me. It's got truck, license plate information, my time. Personally, the first thing I did going on shift today was my pre-trip, and I just want this to match up with my on-duty event, so I'm going to kick this back to 4:13, because technically that's when I started, so I can either use this little scroller device to do that, or click down in there and type what I want. Now, you don't have to match up your pre-trip with your on-duty. I know sometimes people do other work before they do their pre-trip. This is just a personal preference of mine. And I've got my odometer field already filled out. This is because my dash link is already connected via Bluetooth. It's pulling my odometer from my truck's ECM. So that's another reason that I recommend you connect to DashLink very first thing on your shift, is so that you don't have to manually enter this odometer information. And it's got my location again for me. Really, the only thing I need to worry about on this page is whether or not I find defects on my vehicle. So if I do, I can just check that little box off, and it will require me to make a note about what defect I found. Otherwise, I can just leave it alone and hit save. Here's our completed inspection report. We can go ahead and sign it just by hitting Sign Inspection Report, or we can wait until the end of our shift and just use this Sign All button. Sign All will just sign our log and our inspection report all in one go. And so that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to go back to the home page of my app. And at this point, I'm ready to start driving, so I'm just going to take off driving. You can see here I'm moving now, and it's put me on the drive line. So you really just have to start driving. One thing I'll note about DashLink is that it is going to put you on the drive line as soon as the wheels are in motion. So it doesn't matter how fast or slow you're going, as soon as you start moving, it's going to put you on the drive line. Now, while I'm driving, the app is going to be in lockdown mode, meaning that I'm not going to be able to access the rest of my app. So for example, if I try to open up, my settings, I can't get into that. Or if I try to go into my logbook, you can see it's got the app disabled while I'm driving. This is part of the ELD mandate, as well as we just want you to be able to focus on the road instead of, looking at the phone or the tablet. While you're driving, you can flip between this page, which is the hours of service page. It's just got, your availability and reset and stuff like that. You can see the hours of service page and the main dashboard page. In the settings, you can set this to lock down to either of those pages while you're driving, but you will still be able to flip the two. Now, once you stop the truck for 3 seconds, the app is going to unlock so that you can get back into it. See, I can get back into my settings now, and I can go into my logbook. Although one thing you'll notice is I stopped my truck, but I'm still on the drive line. That's because BigRoad gives you a 5-minute window to stay on the drive line in case you stop. So, we want you to be able to stop at red lights or stop signs or whatever without it moving you to the on duty every single time you stop the truck during the day, because that would just be crazy. It would make for a very long and messy log. So we'll give you that 5-minute window. If you do nothing, if you decide not to interfere, it's just going to wait 5 minutes, and then it's going to move you out of driving into on duty not driving. However, if you don't want to wait those 5 minutes, you can, as soon as you're stopped, click on the duty status wheel and change your status into any other status. I'm going to go ahead and actually use duty status with a note to note down that I'm taking my 30-minute break. So I'm going to leave my status as off duty. It's got my location. Just going to put a note that says break, and I'll hit save. You can see it's counting me down for my 30-minute break. An important thing to know is that you do need to let this countdown run all the way out. BigRoad's very precise. It will count down to the second. So if you only take like 29 minutes and 40 seconds or something like that, BigRoad's going to put you in violation for not taking your full 30-minute break. So I really highly encourage you to let this countdown run all the way out down to 0 before you start driving or before you go back on duty. Once the countdown's over, it's not going to kick you back into on duty automatically, so if you're taking longer than 30 minutes, that's fine. You just need to make sure you take a full 30. Let's say, for example, that I'm in the middle taking my 30-minute break, though, and somebody asks me to move my truck. In this situation, you don't want to move the truck and get put on the drive line, because that's going to eat into your break, and then you're going to be in violation for not taking your break, or you're going to have to start all over with your break. So this is one of those situations where yard move comes into play and starts to become very useful. What I'm going to do to actually move my truck is make sure I'm connected to DashLink. I'm going to leave myself off duty. I'm just going to click on my duty status wheel here, and I'm going to select Start a Yard Move. Now it's going to come up with a box that says Yard Move in Progress with my 5-mile countdown, or 8 kilometers if you have your truck in kilometers. At this point, I can just go ahead and start driving. And as I drive, it's going to count down my mileage from my odometer. So this isn't GPS, it's odometer based. Now it's purely distance based as well. So this is not, the speed doesn't come into play here. You can drive at any speed. As soon as you're done driving, it's going to come up with an option that says Yard Move Complete. And you'll just select Yard Move Complete. And as you can see, it just kept me off duty that whole time, so it didn't move me to the drive line. That time on my log is going to be reflected as off duty. Now, you can use a yard move in off duty, sleeper, or on duty. So it's just always going to reflect the last status you were in when you started your yard move. So it doesn't get its own line on the graph. There's nothing on your log that's going to say yard move. It's just going to say the duty status you were in. Again, you can use it off duty, sleeper, or on duty. Now this is the point in my demos where I usually start talking about roadside inspection. What you're going to do in a roadside inspection with DOT, the very first thing that we recommend that you do is pull out your driver card. And I'm just going to pull it up here on the screen so you can see what it looks like. Your driver card looks just like this. We ship out a copy with each DashLink unit, so when we ship it out, it's going to be like a nice, like heavy cardstock. It's not actually card size. It's like 8 by 11, like a normal sheet of paper. It basically says that this DashLink is AOBRD certified, and it's got some instructions for the DOT officer as to how he can do an on-screen inspection and how to use the BigRoad app. So very first thing I recommend you do is pull out your driver card, have it ready, because the officer is probably going to ask for like a manual or some kind of instruction sheet. This is what you want to present when he asks for that. You can get in trouble for not having it. I've seen some people get citations for not having it on them, so it's very important that you keep this in your truck. You might even want to keep a second copy. If you ever need to get an extra copy, you can do that on our website just by going to bigroad.com. Into the resources section. You can download a free copy, so it wouldn't hurt to keep a couple in your cab. Now the next thing you're going to do once he's done with your driver card is go into the on-screen inspection mode. So to do that, you're just going to select daily logs. And you're not going to select view logs because that's going to take you into the driver view. You're going to want to select inspect logs because this is DOT mode. So we're just going to pick 7 days. And then again, it's going to have a couple instructions for the driver. So we'll remind you to show the officer your driver card if you haven't already. And then a couple instructions for the driver here. You can send your logs via email, printer, or fax if you need to. However, when you have that engine-connected AOBRD device, DOT is required by law to view your logs on screen, so they shouldn't be asking for a printed copy. So you'll select Inspect on Screen. And then at this point, you can give the device over to the officer. He might opt to just have you hold it out for him. Either way, you'll just hit Continue. And then it's going to certify the DashLink as AOBRD compliant again with a couple basic instructions for the officer here. A couple things they'll be able to see is the hours summary and your daily logs. So if they view your hours summary, it's going to look just like this. Have your name, your truck, your cycle that you're set up under, your time spent on duty and driving so far today, your distance so far today, and then your on-duty time for 7 and 8 day period, including today. Then they can just press the back button, and now they can actually go into your daily logs here. A couple instructions on how to navigate on screen. We'll continue. And then this is what it's going to look like for them. So for each log, they'll see your basic truck and shipment info and stuff like that. They'll see your graph, your events for the day, and your inspection report. And they can just flip through the days with these little arrow buttons. Oops. And then one important thing to note about inspection mode is that in your view, when you look at the driver view, any violation warnings or any problems that you have with your log, if you're missing a field, if you forgot to take your break, if you exceeded your drive time, anything that could potentially get you in trouble with DOT, we're going to flag with a little orange triangle. We don't do that for inspection mode because we don't want to make it that much easier for the DOT to spot problems. However, the DOT, as you are aware, is going to know how to spot problems for sure. So obviously we recommend that you keep your logs as clean and up to date as possible. And then as long as you do that, this roadside inspection should be pretty smooth and painless for everybody. Once they're done with the inspection, they'll either hand the device back to you or click the back button until the app says, okay, it's time to hand it back to the driver. And you'll hit done. And then you can carry on with the rest of the inspection at that point. And so, going back to what I was saying about violation warnings, you can see here on my daily logs section, I've got this little orange triangle We're going to ignore the little green flag for right now. That's a new feature that we're not rolling out to everyone just yet. Some of our employees are seeing this right now. You won't be seeing this just yet, but you will see this orange triangle. This just means that I've got at least one log that has a violation warning. So I'm going to click on daily logs here. I'm going to go to view logs to get to my driver view. And right now I'm just looking at all of my logs for the last 14 days plus today. If I want, I can filter it down just to the days with violation warnings. To do that, I will just click this button up here and select warnings from the drop-down menu. So if you wanted to, if you had some free time, you could say, all right, I'm going to go clean up my logs. This warnings bar would be helpful because you could just go through day by day and fix them all. Let's look at Tuesday's log and see what's going on there. So I just haven't signed my log. That's my violation warning. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit sign all here. It's going to tell me that as a Dashlink user, once I sign my log, I'm only going to have 24 hours to make edits. This is just a provision in the ELD mandate. If edits need to be made after 24 hours, they can be done by a supervisor. The supervisor will have the full 14 days. So I'm going to hit continue. It's just going to give me a little blurb about verifying the contents of my log. I'm going to hit sign all. And I've got my signature on my inspection report and on my log for that day. So if I go back to my warnings page, you can see that day's gone now. But let's go back into my log for today because I want to talk a little bit about editing a log. So I'm going to just put all of my logs back up. I'm going to click today. And so here is what your actual daily log is going to look like in your logbook. At the top we'll have our date, our cycle, we'll have our graph. We have a section up top that just has our basic truck and shipment and carrier information, etc. I've got my recap turned on, so I'm seeing my recap, my events, and my inspection reports. Let's start by editing this section up top. If there's anything I want to edit in here, I'm just going to select this edit button off to the side. And going through this section, first thing up here is the driver name, so that's your name. And then if you're a team driver, you can put the name of your co-driver here. You can see that I can't edit my truck name or my odometer or distance. That's because it was automatically recorded for me by Dashlink. So if any edits do need to be made to this field for any reason, that would fall to the supervisor. You can add extra trucks to your log if you need to. This is the field where you can add your trailer numbers. So if you have multiple, I would just recommend that you separate them out by commas. And then you can see that we have our cycle button again here. The difference between this and what we set up in your profile is that if you change your cycle on just an individual daily log, it's only going to change for that day. For example, if I change my rules for Friday, October 27th, it's only going to change them for Friday, October 27th. On Saturday, October 28th, it's going to revert back to my default. So this is handy for maybe if you're going to be crossing the border and you just want to switch to Canadian rules for a day or two, or maybe you're a short haul driver that sometimes drives long haul and you want to switch to long haul for a few days, that kind of thing. This is just a 1 day at a time change. To do your overall default setting, you want to do that in your profile. We've got a recap type here. So if I click on recap, we've got a couple different versions of recap that we can show on our log. So it's just going to, show our used up on duty time so far in our cycle. The full version looks just like this. If you set it up to full, you're going to see this on each day's log. We also have a summary version. Personally, I like this one a little bit better, so that's what I leave it on. And then you can turn it off if you want. Now recap type will carry forward, so once you turn it on, it's going to stay on until you turn it off at a later date. And now we have home time zone as well. This is just going to default to the home time zone that you set in your profile. Generally, we don't recommend that drivers mess with this. For example, if you're starting out your day or your cycle in Eastern time, then you're going to need to count your hours based in Eastern time where you started out. There's no need to change your time zone as you drive through different time zones. BigRoad is going to keep account of that. Changing your time zone doesn't help, get extra hours or anything like that either. So in most cases, we just recommend you leave that one alone. And then we've got the carrier field here. So this is just the address of your carrier. You're going to have to put it in once. So, once you put it in, it's going to just autofill on your logs every day after that. So you're not going to need to type it in every day. You can put in separate address for your home terminal if it's different than the headquarters for your carrier. Now we've got shipping docs field. This field is for, a manifest number or like a bill of lading, purchase order, any kind of paperwork that you have regarding your shipment. You would want to put like that reference number there. FMCSA isn't super specific about what has to go in that field, so if you don't have paperwork or you don't have like a manifest or something like that, you could just put a description of what you're shipping. I've seen some customers do that. Or, maybe you're a service tech and you don't actually ship anything. You might just put not applicable there. The important thing to know is that there just has to be something in that field for BigRoad to be happy. I'm going to leave it alone just like that for now. And I'm going to move on to the remarks section. The remarks section is just where you can go to make any notes that you feel like are relevant to the day. So it's not a mandatory field. You might use it if you run into adverse driving conditions, if you get stuck on the side of the road for a couple hours, that kind of thing. Anything you might want DOT to see on your log that might give them some explanation as to why you did this or that. This is a good place to make those notes. You can also make notes on your individual events as well. So we're just going to hit done to save those changes. And now let's talk about editing events. Let's say I want to try to edit a driving event. To edit an event, you're just going to click on it, and it's going to turn blue, and you're going to get the edit button. Because I'm talking about a driving event, you can see that I can't actually mess with my start time or my end time or my duration. As for status, all I can really do is select off-duty driving. This is because it's automatically recorded by DashLink, so it's designed to be that way. If any drive time does need to be edited for any reason, that would fall to the supervisor. You can still edit your location and your note, however. I'm just going to hit cancel. Now, as a DashLink user, you still can go back in and edit on-duty and off-duty time. So let's just say I want to kick my start time back to 4 p.m. I'll click on that event, hit edit. Now I can use these little buttons to the side of my time that just jumps around in 15-minute increments. Again, you can just drop the cursor down and use the scroller or type. And then you can change your status. You could put on duty, sleeper, or off duty. You can't select driving. So for example, maybe you accidentally marked yourself as on duty when you took your break instead of off duty. That's the kind of change that you can go in and make. Now sometimes you might try to change an event that's on duty or off duty, but maybe BigRoad doesn't want to let you do it because it might affect drive time. For example, let's say that I want to edit my off-duty break and say that I started it at 4:17. you can see it's not taking that change. Even if I hit save. That's because at 4:17 I was still driving. So, you can still edit on-duty, off-duty time. The main takeaway, though, is that sometimes it might not let you if it's going to affect your drive time. So, really the best way to get used to these editing logs is just by practice. Our support team is really great. I highly recommend if you're having trouble editing logs, if you're struggling to understand it, definitely call our support team. They're really great. They're not going to rush you off the phone. They can pull up your log with you and kind of take you step by step through whatever edit it is you're trying to make. Usually, in most cases, after customers call in once or a few times, they'll get the hang of it. Sometimes it just takes that extra help of having someone show you how to do it before you feel really confident with it. Our support number is 1-888-305-8777, and that would be extension 1. You can also reach them at support@bigroad.com. That would be SUPPORT@bigroad.com. And then if you just go to BigRoad.com, there's a live chat option as well to chat with one of our support reps. And we are 24/7 now. That's a recent change that we made. So let's talk about what happens if I try to sign a log that has violation warnings. And I'm just going to give myself a couple violation warnings here. Save. This is what violations could potentially look like for you. So no location on an event would be a violation. You would get dinged by DOT for that. You can see if you do exceed your drive time or if you're driving without availability, it's going to turn red on the graph. That's because I went in there and changed my on-duty time to 4 a.m. I've been on duty for way too long to be able to be driving at 4:16 p.m. So this is what it might potentially look like if you're driving without availability, that kind of thing. In this case, I could actually get rid of that. While I can't change my drive time, all I would have to do is edit my on-duty time to fix that. So I'm just going to switch this back to 4 p.m. And I no longer have that red on my graph. Let's go ahead and try to sign my log with my other violation warnings. You can see here that the app is saying, oh no, you got validation warnings. Are you sure you want to sign, or do you want to go ahead and fix the problems? You can sign off on your log, and you can just power through and sign it anyways. However, the app is going to give you a chance to fix your problems before you sign. So I'm just going to click Fix Problems, and it's just going to take me through all of my violation warnings one by one until they're all fixed. So that one, I was just missing my shipping dock. And then I've got I've got an event here that doesn't have a location. Save. And it's going to let me go ahead and sign my log now. So it's going to just tell me that I've got the 24-hour editing rule. But before I sign it, I actually want to show you how to use personal conveyance if that's a feature that you're going to use. So to use personal conveyance, you just want to click on the duty status wheel and select Begin Personal Use. And then it's going to mark you off duty if you haven't already done that already. And you can go ahead and just start driving. Now, personal conveyance is only to be used when you are completely off the clock, you have no more work, you're completely relieved of work responsibilities, you have no load on your trailer, and then your destination is just purely personal in nature. So going home, going to the truck stop, that kind of thing. We don't put a time or distance limit on it, so we just encourage you to use your discretion, just within reason, really. Once you're done driving, you can just, well, it didn't register my stop yet. Sometimes my emulator's a little slow to do that. Once you're done driving, you could just say end personal use, and it will just kick me back to off duty. And put myself on duty for a second here. I'm going to go into my daily log here. I'm not sure if you can see on your screen or not, but personal conveyance is going to get an extra line on the graph for PC, and then anytime you spend driving in personal conveyance is going to be shaded green on the graph. So it will be reflected on your graph when you use personal conveyance. Now, I marked myself on duty just because I wanted to show you what happens if you try to sign a log while you're on duty. The app's going to catch you and say, oh no, you're still on duty. I'm just trying to show you this to explain that BigRoad is always going to try to catch any, silly or accidental mistakes that you make. I kind of think of it myself as like an auditing as you go process. It's just going to try to keep you from making mistakes that would potentially get you in trouble. If I sign off on my log while I'm on duty, it's going to fill out the rest of my graph for the remaining section of my 24 hours is on duty, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to hit cancel and go back and mark myself off duty. Go back into my log. Scroll down. Then I'm going to hit sign all. And now we're good to sign. Now the last thing I want to show you in this demo here is the messaging feature. To do that, I'm going to go back to the home page. And I'm going to click messages. And we have a few different options up here. Number one is chat. So you are allowed to have chats with any other member of the fleet as long as your fleet administrator has enabled it for you guys. It's basically the exact same thing as a text message. It's just done within BigRoad. So as you can see, if you start a new chat, you can just pick a member of your fleet, send them a message, they'll send you one back. If you know how to text, then you know how to do this. Next, we have a check-in feature. This is just going to pull your location for you on the map, put a little marker there. You can make a note, and then you can send this to an email address. So, for example, if the customer wanted to know your location, you could check in with them, send them your location along with any notes, let them know where you're at. You'll just click add email. If you have a new email, you can just select add new. And I guess my emulator is just not going to be responsive to that button right now. But once you add a new email address, it'll go into your list, and then we'll keep a running list. So if you've used it once, it'll show up here. Now hit send. Pretty simple. And lastly, we've got a documents feature, which just lets you take a picture and send it either to dispatch or to an email address. So, you could take a picture of fuel receipts or manifests. You could even take a picture of like a defect in your vehicle if you wanted to. You just attach an image from the gallery in your device, or just, turn the app into a camera and take a picture. You could add a note if you want. If you select send to dispatch, this picture is just going to show up on your trip sheet information. So your dispatchers or safety personnel will be able to see it. You can also see it too if you go to the website at bigroad.com and sign in. It'll show up under your trip sheet. And then if you like, you can also add an email address in there. And that pretty much does it for the mobile app. The best thing you can do is just use it. Just play with it, get to know it. Call our support team. They're really great. They're not going to rush you off the phone. They don't bite. I highly vouch for the people on our support team here. They're really a great resource for you guys to use moving forward. We also have good training videos on our website, so if you like to watch a little bit shorter videos, we've got specific videos as to how to do something. If you're ever curious about how to do something in the BigRoad app, chances are we've got a video for it. Just go to bigroad.com. And then we also do weekly training webinars. So if you watch this video and you still feel like you want some more information about BigRoad, you can go to our website and sign up for a webinar. They're free to attend. One of our trainers will just, do a similar thing to what I did here, just take you through the app. You get the chance to ask questions, that kind of thing. And then the last thing I'm going to do here is sign out of my app. And I want to make one more note here. I do recommend that you sign out of the BigRoad app when you're done with your shift, because as long as you're signed into the app, it is going to be tracking your location. So sign out, and BigRoad's no longer tracking you. I hope you found that helpful. If not, don't hesitate to call our support team or go to bigroad.com and check out some of our additional training resources. We're here to help you. We want you to be successful with this stuff. So thanks for watching. Don't ever hesitate to call us.